Welcome to CO275 recording about titanium mobile app development. In this session we're going to have a little fun, and we will look at developing a simple game. Okay, so in previous sessions we designed this very basic game of getting an object to climb when we push the up button and then come down with the down button. We did this by using events, specifically the add event method for a button or for a view. So let's start developing something different this time. And to do that, I'm going to still use my first app project, but I'll just go ahead and delete the whole thing, and we'll just start from scratch. So let's go ahead and start by building a window. Var, this time we'll call it an actual window. In the previous example we used WIN, just the win name. It's really up to you what you will call this particular container. But we need to create a window, so we'll go ahead and ask the user interface to come up with a window. Create window. Excellent. And now some of the properties for our window are going to include background, color, and we'll go ahead and go with white. And later on in this particular game, we could put an image. By the way, I will comment it out, but if you wanted to put an image, this is what you would do, right? And so maybe it's a soccer field or whatever the background of your particular game should be. You would put the name of the image right here. Okay, so that's how this would be done. But we'll just stick with a white window. Okay, so let's next create a frame, and this frame is going to basically fill the window, and the entire game will be inside of the frame. So we'll create a frame, maybe call it view frame, because when I say frame, in titanium it actually happens to be a view. So ti.ui.createView, this is going to create a nice basic container. So we now have a window, we now have a view, and we did not specify any properties for the view, which means that it'll fill the width and the height of our parent container of the window. Great. The very next thing that we want to create is some kind of a ball. And by the way, our game is going to be a type of a Pong game, where a ball is going to be bouncing off the walls, and we'll try to maybe bounce it back. So we'll create another view. We'll call it the ball. Okay. For the moment, our ball, let's see, create view. For the moment, our ball is going to be square. Okay, and we'll add some rounding options to it in just a moment. But let's go ahead and maybe give it a color first. Background color, let's make the ball blue. And let's give it a width of just 30 pixels and the height of 30 pixels. Okay, so at this point we have a square ball 30 by 30 right in the middle of the screen. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. In order to make this happen on a mobile device, we of course have to do a couple of things. We have to add to the window the frame, then we're going to take the frame and add to it our ball. Okay, and after that we'll go ahead and open our window. Well, let's see how this might work. Let's go ahead and play this. Alright, it's going to be launched in just a moment. Alright, so we have white background, a square ball in the middle, and things are looking great. Let's do a couple of things here in order to fix up the game. First, let's make the ball round. We will do that by providing border radius property. Okay, let me show you how this looks like. Let's go ahead and run it. Alright, you can see how the square now became round thanks to the border radius parameter. And let's see, the ball is right in the middle, that's fine. I want to show you something that I didn't show before, and it has to do with opening the window. On the iPhone platform, or also iOS, iPhone or iPad, you have certain options that are not available on the Android. Specifically when you open windows or views or tabs, you have certain transitions to work with. Transitions are a little bit like animations where they basically give you a nice look and feel. Let me show you how we can open a window on the iPhone platform with a transition. All we have to provide here is a property to the window open method where we would say transition, and then let me just take a peek at documentation. The iPhone animation style is the particular container that has some of the options like curling down a window, flipping from left, flipping from right. Let me show you what they look like so you will be aware. So let's start by maybe flipping from left. Okay, we are opening the window, flipping from left. If I should try to run this in an Android simulator right now, it'll probably crash because this has no meaning for the Android simulator. But for the iPhone simulator, it does. So let's try to rerun it and see what might happen with our app. Okay, notice the flip effect. Let's go ahead and flip it differently, maybe curling it up, run it again, and in a moment, again, the splash screen will come up, and now we have the curl up, and you can curl down as well. Okay, so for a game, it makes sense to have some of this eye candy. Here's how you can keep this in your code. You could say something like, if the TI platform OS version, OS name, if it's reported as iPhone, or, and in our if statements, notice that this is the OR statement, and this would be the AND statement. So OR are two pipes, and AND, A&D, would be two ampersand signs. If you try to put A and D, this will be reported as an error. It actually would go right here outside of the double quote. So we have to put OR TI platform OS name is equal to iPad. Right, and notice also the use of double equal signs. If you use single equal sign, this if statement will always be true, because what you would be doing is you would be assigning the value of iPhone into the specific variable. So then you're not comparing the values. The if statement always fires as true. Okay, so here's what we can do. You see, we're creating an if statement. We'll run this window open statement for iPhone or iPad, but then we'll use the simple open statement for Android. See, so that's how you can implement strengths of one device, like the curling of windows on the iPad or iPhone, but yet keep the same line of code for your Android or BlackBerry devices. All right, so at this point we have a ball in the middle. of the screen. We have a frame, and all right, what we would really want to do is make this ball move. Right? What we'd like to do is have the ball maybe move on an angle, hit the wall, and then switch its direction, and so it bounces all over the screen. We can get this done. So first of all, we need to establish the boundaries. So let's set a variable called screen height, and I'm just creating this variable, and we'll go ahead and set the screen height from the platform display caps, let's see, and then platform height. So my screen height is important because when my ball basically goes to the bottom of the screen and I need to know what the height of the screen is, I need to bounce it back. I need to know when the ball has reached that point. Also, the screen width is important. So we'll have a similar context here. Okay, let's go here. And now we'll just say platform width. Perfect. So these two variables are important to us at this point. Next, the key to the ball moving is timing. So what we have to do is we have to have sort of a heartbeat enabled on our application, otherwise called a timer. And this timer has to be moving at a specific speed so that our application has some life to it. And so this is how we would create a timer. We would say var timer equals set interval, move ball is going to be the function that gets executed with every firing of this interval, and we'll go ahead and set 10 as far as the number of milliseconds. So if I was to put 1,000 here, it would be, the timer would hit and execute every second. Well, if you can imagine a ball moving 1 pixel per second, that would be fairly choppy. Instead, we'll move it much faster, 10 milliseconds per pixel across the screen. So this timer is going to go ahead and have this kind of life to us. So now let's define this move ball function. Okay, move the ball. We want to say something like function move the ball, and this particular function is going to change the value for the top and the left properties. So what we'll say here is we'll say something like ball, and that's our frame, ball.top equals ball.top plus 1. Okay, this should move our ball from the middle of the screen down. Now, for this to actually work well, what we have to do is we have to define the top variable ahead of time. So let's just go ahead and maybe set the top of the ball at the very, let's see, middle of the screen. And we would do that by taking screen height divided up by 2, okay, and then subtract half of the height of the ball, which would be 15 for us. Let's see how this works. We execute our interval and then the move ball function. Hopefully our ball will be moving vertically down the screen. There it is. Okay, so after the flip is done, the ball is moving down, and of course now it's disappeared. We can track this ball by saying something like ti.api.info ball.top. So now, as the ball is moving every 10 milliseconds, it's going to report to us its location. So now we can see how many pixels up this ball is located. Alright, so with this ball going down, let's make the ball bounce. Alright, how are we going to do that? Well, we basically are going to change the direction of the ball when the ball reaches a certain top value. For this to really make sense, what we have to do is we have to define a couple of variables for directions. So let's define a variable direction v. So for vertical direction, and we'll go ahead and start this direction with down. So to start with, the ball is dropping down, and that's what's making the ball drop down. So we would say if direction v equals, okay, two equal signs and parentheses around this. So if the vertical direction is down, then you go ahead and execute it by adding 1 to the top of the ball. Alright, so that's how the ball falls. Otherwise, so the only other option for direction v would be if it's up, then make sure that ball.top equals ball.top minus 1. Now what we need is a simple if statement that's going to define when the direction becomes down and when it becomes up. So we'll say something like this. If the ball top, for whatever reason, becomes greater than screen height, right? So we have the screen height variable. If the ball passes the screen height, then make sure that direction v is now going to be up. So this is what's going to cause the bounce of the ball. A bounce of the ball. Because then the second part of the if statement is going to kick in. But we need another statement that will say something like, if ball top becomes less than 0, right? It becomes less than 0. Well, in that case, make sure that we change the direction of the ball. Oops, vertical direction is now going to be down again. Does that make sense? So basically what we're doing is we're saying there is a boundary here, and when you reach this boundary, make sure that the ball is moving up. And if you reach the other boundary, make sure that the ball is moving down. And we make the ball move one way or the other way, either adding pixels or subtracting them from the top value. Alright, let's see how this might work. Alright, so that's a deep bounce. We might correct that in just a minute. Alright, so it bounces off the top of the screen. It sinks into the bottom of the screen. Why? Because we are saying that the ball must be, the top of the ball must be greater than screen height. Right? So instead, if we were to maybe subtract the height of the ball, then let's just see what happens. I'm guessing that the ball is going to bounce a little bit more gracefully at the bottom. All right. So maybe we subtract a little bit more than 30. See how it still sinks a little bit? Let's make it a 50. Okay, the ball is dropping, the ball bounces at the bottom, and the ball is going to bounce off the top. Okay, so at this point, we made this ball move up and down. Well, all we have to do now is perhaps move the ball on an angle. Well, let's just follow what we've done with the vertical move and start creating variables for horizontal move. Direction H, or horizontal, is going to start as move to the right side of the screen. Well, actually, let's see. Yeah, right would be fine. So we'll be moving the ball to the right. Then we have to define a variable that allows us to do that, like the left variable. So we're going to now track the x value of this view. The ball is, of course, the view object type. So ball left equals screen. I misspelled screen here. Let's fix that. Screen width, okay, divided by 2, and let's see, what we're going to have to do as far as putting it just right. Well, let's try 50 at this point, and we'll know in a moment exactly how wrong I might be. So we'll go ahead and run this. Yeah, something tells me 50 is too much because the ball is only 30 pixels. Let's just try with 15. Okay, yeah. So now we have the ball that starts somewhere, but we still have to first change the direction. So the moment the ball hits the right side of the screen or the left side of the screen, we need to change directions. So we'll say direction H first is going to be to the right, and when that's the case, then we'll continually add pixels to the left variable. Now otherwise, let's go ahead and say ball left equals ball left minus 1. Perfect. So now we have the ball moving to the left, but when the direction variables change, then the ball will start moving the other way. Okay, and so let's go ahead and do it, or execute the actual direction change. We'll say that if ball dot left, okay, is greater than the screen height. And let me explain why I'm using the greater than symbol here instead of just equal. We are moving our ball 1 pixel at a time, which means that it has to go through all values. Technically, I could say if ball left equals screen height. Sometimes, though, what may change later on in our software, we might be moving the ball every 2 pixels. And if this equation is missed, so that if that exact screen height was skipped because we added instead of 1, 2, then this if statement may never execute and the ball just disappears into the margin. So the greater than symbol is going to make it a little bit more flexible so that any value beyond the margin is going to make the ball come back. And so in the same way here, we're going to have to correct for the size of the ball so that it doesn't sink into the side window. Let's see. Let's subtract the entire width of the ball because we are measuring the left side, the left margin of the ball. So we have to subtract the entire width of the ball, so it looks like the ball is bouncing off of the right side of itself. Okay, so that's what we'll do here, and we'll say, okay, once you are bouncing off the right side of the screen, then we'll change the direction, the horizontal direction, and we really need you to go the other way, to the left. Okay. The next statement will say something like, if ball left, is less than 0, okay, then direction, please start going the other way. Let's see how this works. All right. Whoops. Okay, so the ball is bouncing, perhaps not exactly as I was planning. Maybe the game should be trying to predict where the ball is going to appear at. So the phone has 4 sides, and the ball is bouncing correctly off 3 sides. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Let's see how we can fix our right margin. Basically, it's this piece, no, not this piece. We're bouncing right here. And what I will do is I'll get rid of this minus 30 and let's see what happens next. This should correct it to some degree. Whoops, didn't like that at all. Let's see, what did we do here to make it angry. Let's run it again. Oh, you know what I'm doing? I'm doing this wrong. This is screen height. Left, of course, should be the width. There we go. And so at this point, subtract 30 from it. I think that's correct. Let's try that. For some reason, I was looking at the previous line and just copying it, I think. Alright, so now we have our ball bouncing off all 4 sides. Alright, so our game is taking on some shape. At this point, what we may want to add is some user controllable device so that the user can actually move it back and forth and cause the ball bounce differently. Well, to do that, of course, we need to create a view, right? So view is the basic container. We'll go ahead and create a view. Let's just maybe call whatever it is that the user is moving, we'll call it a bar. Let's get back to the code here, and I'll keep our code arranged so that all our definitions are together. We'll do it right here. We'll say var bar, so we have a ball and a bar. Bar is going to be also a view, and this particular view is going to have a few parameters. Background color, let's make it black, right? So the bouncing bar is going to be black. Let's just maybe take width of 100 pixels, and then the height about 10. And previously I set the top variable and the left variable outside of the ball view definition. Just to show you a different syntax, let's go ahead and make the same property set inside of the create view method. So our top, let's make this at screen height minus 50. So what we're doing is we're setting our bar at the bottom of the screen, right? If the screen height is maybe 320 pixels, we're setting it about 50 pixels from the bottom of the screen. And then the left, we're going to say screen width, and that needs to be divided by 2 in order to center the bar, and we're going to subtract 100 from that, which is the width of the bar. So now we're going to center the actual bar. Let's just run it through the simulator so that we can see the bar. Well, that didn't quite work as well as I expected. The bar isn't showing. So why is the bar not showing? Even though we defined the bar, we actually never added it to the view. So let's say view frame.add and add the bar to it. Now let's rerun it and let's see what happens. Okay, so we have a problem here with an invalid dimension. Let's see. What did I break? Oh, I see. So these two variables are being created after I'm trying to use them. So this makes it a little bit messy code, but we basically need to have these variables defined if we're going to use the syntax that I was trying to demonstrate. Alright, so now the bar is at the bottom. I didn't center the bar all that well. It seems to me that the left variable here probably could be 50 instead, so as to center our bar correctly on the screen. Okay, there it is. Okay, so the bar is down here, and right now the ball is going just to pass through the bar as if the bar was invisible. So what we have to do is, first of all, we need the user to be able to use the bar. Okay, we need to be able to use the bar. Move it. Because we're testing this app in a simulator, I'm going to use an event called the touch end, which basically allows me to click on the screen and move the bar. On the actual phone, it would be the touch event that moves the bar. Probably you want to be able to investigate other events that allow you to drag more with more fluidity on the screen this particular bar. But let's just go ahead and stick with the touch end event so that we can click on the simulator and see what happens. Let's go down here to define a new function, and this function is going to be called function move bar. Alright, so we're going to be moving the bar, and let's see. Let me show you this syntax where we will use an E object. Previously, in my move ball function, I was saying ball.top in every line because I didn't use I wasn't really using any other reference. But here, the user will be actually causing a specific events to take place on the screen. So when the user touches anywhere on the screen, okay, this is going to create a touch event with an X and a Y variables. Now let me show you how this might work. We're going to log the value of X. Okay, so we're sending to the log whenever the user touches the screen, we want to see what the X value of that touch is. Well, before this will even happen, we have to listen for that particular touch. Okay, and so let's perhaps do something like window, add event listener, make sure that we're listening for touch end, and make sure to execute the move bar function. Okay, let's see how this works. We basically are listening for touches on the screen, and we're trying to report the X value. Okay, let's see. I should probably rebuild my app from scratch. For some reason, it's been exiting. Okay, so now when I touch the screen, notice that there are numbers that come up here in the console. That's because we're using ti.api-info and then log the X value. When I touch on far right of the screen, these numbers are high. When I touch on far left, these numbers are low. And that's how our screen tells us when the user is touching the screen. Okay, so to move the bar, right? To move the bar according to where the touch is made, all we have to do is we'll say something like bar.top equals e.y, and then bar.left equals e.x. Now, if we do that, then the bar would be moved, or the left side of the bar would be moved wherever we clicked. It's probably more intuitive to have it be moved to the middle of the bar. Our bar is 100 pixels. So when I click, the middle of the bar will move to that location. It's going to be more intuitive that way. Okay, so now let's see how our bar is moving. There we go. So as I click on the screen, my bar is moving. Now, obviously this game is not as much fun with the ball not respecting the bar at all. We'll fix this in a minute, but we can see that the bar is now being moved, and that of course is causing interaction, and the user is able to provide some feedback for our game. Okay, let's go ahead and move to this idea of making the bar a bounceable object. So how are we going to do that? Well, we will basically create a few more if statements, and these if statements are going to change the direction of the bar. All right? We have to do this inside of the move ball function because the bar could be resting somewhere, and it's when the ball comes on the bar, it's when we want to be able to move it. Well, let's do it right here. Bounce off the bar. And so the first bounce will be the up bounce. So the ball is coming down, and now we need to bounce it back. How do we know that the ball is meeting the bar? Well, if bar.top is equal to ball.top, and in this instance, let's add maybe 20 pixels. The reason why we're doing that is because by the time the top of the ball meets the top of the bar, the ball is already sinking into the bar. In fact, let me show you how it's done without correcting this first. So what we have here is when the bar matches the y-axis. That's what we know so far. But now our bar is only 100 pixels wide. We need to allow the ball to pass on the left or the right of the bar. And so we'll do that by creating the next part of the if statement. And in this part, we're going to limit the bounce only when the ball left, okay, minus bar left is less than 100. Okay, so this is what it means. When the left side of the ball, the value of it, numerical value, when we subtract the location of the left side of the bar, is less than the actual width of the bar. See? So the ball must be passing right through the bar for this to happen. Okay? But also, when the ball left side minus bar left side is greater than, let's say, 0 at this point, right? What we are saying here is that, okay, what if the left side of the ball is way before the bar even starts? Okay, then it will be a negative number. So the first part here is going to cause the ball to pass successfully on the right side of the bar, and this side is allowing the ball to pass on the left side of the bar. Okay, let me show you how this works. In fact, as I'm listening to myself, I think it might be best to divide this into parts and then implement them one at a time, so you know what we're doing. Okay, so the moment this executes, we need to change direction. Change direction. Well, if let's just say for now direction V equals up. Right, so what we're doing is, if the ball is coming down, we only are going to allow the up bounce. Let's keep it simple and let's show what we're doing. Okay, so I need the ball to bounce off the top first, and now I'm going to provide my bar. You see how the bar allowed it to bounce? All right. Now our edges at this point of the bar are not very crisp. First of all, the ball is falling too far below the bar, right? And secondly, if you look at it, I can have the bar way back here and it still bounces, right? So why does that happen? Well, it happens because so far I'm only checking that the top of the ball happens to be equal to the top of the bar, and then I'm changing the direction of the ball. So the first step, let's make sure that that when the ball bounces, okay, when the ball bounces, let's make sure that the ball bounces at the bottom of its own width. Okay, let's see how this will work. We'll make it come up here. Okay. All right, you see that the ball is now not sinking underneath the bar, right? And so that's what this plus 20 does. All right, so just for the efficiency of it, what I will do is I'm going to comment out this particular curl. I think that it's causing the simulator to choke a little bit. We'll just open the window normally. Okay, and let's go back here, and now let's enable, okay, that second part, and that means being able to pass the ball on the left or on the right if the coordinates of the ball are not firing collision. There you go. So we just passed the ball on the right, and then we just did that on the left. So we'll put it right here. You can see it passes. But if I put the bar right underneath the ball is going to bounce. Okay. All right. We have a couple of other edges that we need to polish. See, if I do this, the ball still passes on the left, and if I put my let's see, maybe this way. Let's see if I can demonstrate the right edge. Okay, that part is working. All right. So we have to adjust this the left edge. Basically, when the ball is coming down, well, you're just gonna have to trust me on the fact that there's a there's a possibility of the ball actually crossing right through the edge, which visually it doesn't make sense to the user why that would happen. But that's because we are actually measuring the left edge of the bar and the left edge of the ball. So to fix that, what we have to do is we'll just go ahead and say right here minus 20. Okay. So that's going to fix that little inconsistency. Okay, so now we have the ball bouncing. Let's see. What I'd like to do is maybe allow the ball also to bounce from the bottom of the bar. Okay, and we can get this done fairly efficiently by saying this: if the direction of the ball is down, okay, then obviously we want to be able to bounce up. All right, bounce up. Let's see what happens here. I don't know what happened to my if statement here. There we go. Okay, so then we bounce up. Otherwise, if the ball is basically already going up, okay, if the ball is already going up, then we want to make sure that the ball is going to go down. So this defines a bounce from the bottom of the bar. Let me show you how that works. Okay, so here is a bottom bounce. All right, there's the bottom bounce, and now we'll let the ball go up, and let's make, oops, there we go. And here's an up bounce. So now the ball is bouncing from the top and from the bottom, and of course our game is the game is on. To make the game more fun, we might implement some scoring. So for scoring here to make sense, perhaps we could be counting the number of bounces that the user is performing. Okay, we'll count the number of bounces, and then we'll give the user only limited time to actually play a session. All right, and here's how we would do that. We're going to create a little score area. This is going to be a label. We'll call it score. We'll use the user interface, create label, okay, like this. And this particular label is going to go right on the bottom of the screen, and maybe 10 pixels from the left side. The height of the label will be about 20. The width also 20. We'll just put a few numbers there. You know, you might be able to bounce 10, 20 times within a period of time, so we don't need that just to be very wide. And let's make it black in terms of the color. Okay, and then let's see. Let's make the text of the label start at 0. So there's going to be 0 bounces to start with, and then we'll grow from there. Then the next element is going to be our time display. So the time is going to be also a label. Create label. Create label. Let's see. All right, create label. And now this label is going to be also on the bottom, right next to the other one. This one will start at 30, just because 10 and 20 of left and width is going to put it right next to it. Let's make the width a little bit bigger because we'll have milliseconds scrolling here, so we need a little wider window. Yeah, let's make this maybe blue in color. And let's start maybe with 10,000. So we'll give a 10-second session time. Okay, so that works fine. All we have to do now is when the timer is running, okay, when the timer is running, we need to be able to increment the count. So this is how it's going to happen. We go back to the move ball function, and we'll say something like time.text equals time.text minus 1. All right. So now from the 10,000 milliseconds, every time the timer fires off, we're subtracting 1. So we know that when the timer runs out, we want to finish the session. So we'll say something like if time.text is less than 1, okay, then make sure to maybe show something to the user like an alert, and we'll say your score is, right, followed by score.text, and then here we'll reset the timer where we'll say time.text equals 10,000 again. All right, and of course score.text equals 0 again. So we will just reset the session for the user. Okay, so the timer goes down. Let's go ahead and run it. This basically is going to create a game where we are unable to score any points, because at this point, nowhere in the code did we specify how the user will be scoring those points. And same errors as before, I need to be able to add to my window those objects that I'm putting together. So let's see, where did I have this section? It's right here. Let's move this section down here right before opening the window. Perfect. And so now what we'll do is we'll say view frame add. We need to add the score, and view frame add, we need to add the time, which is the little timer label. Okay, so let's give it a moment. Okay, so the score is 0, and you can see the timer going down. Well, I think 10. Well, I might have miscalculated that. I think that's more than 10 seconds. Let's reset. Let's get rid of one of the zeros there. It probably will make better sense to have a variable somewhere at the very top that sets it in both places. But we'll do it just this way. So 10 seconds is 1,000. Okay, that's fine. So now we have 10 seconds. How does the user score? Well, user scores when a bounce takes place. Now, you could specify to score only on the up bounce or on either bounce. Now, let's just do it for either bounce. We'll say score.text equals score.text plus 1. Excellent. So we go ahead and execute it and see how our score is increased. Alright, so there it is. Now let's go ahead and score once. There it is. There's scoring 2, 3, and your score is 4. Alright, we'll say OK. And we might want to be able to reset the timer when that happens. Okay, so if we basically allow the score to be on the screen for too long, the score is reset, but the timer automatically goes down. Okay, let's see how we're going to fix that. Right here, the timer goes down all the time, and the score is reset. But the timer doesn't really reset because it continuously, yeah, that makes sense. It is getting overwritten continuously. We don't have to use the alert box. We could use some other object. We could use a different type of an alert box to fix that. Let's see if this simple override might do it. If we just say else here and do that. Let's see if that might fix it. Okay, so the timer is running and we're playing the game. Oops. Alright, we got this many bounces. Okay, and so obviously the timer continues to run even though our game Alright. Well, I think this project is where I wanted to take it in terms of just showing the basics of a game. If you want to improve on it, feel free. Basically, you could add a pretty picture background. You could improve the way we are showing these scores. We could have a leaderboard, where basically we have a local database where we track all the scores. Perhaps the leaderboard could be shared through an RSS feed, and basically we could have multiple users competing. So from here you can use your imagination to make this game into anything that you want. So thank you for your attention, and in this recording I just showed you a little bit free-form programming of writing a relatively ugly code. You see, this code has very few comments. This code really needs to be cleaned up to be a readable code and maintainable code. We might choose to move some of the code into external files, and definitely add comments to show what is taking place. But that's our game, and thank you very much for your attention.